How's it going? I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Need to get by? No, it's all right. Johnny, my brother Johnny's going to pop through here. Hold on one second. Let me grab it. Do you need the? There you go. I got a little laptop there. We put this one up quick, people, because every once in a while you got to go up fast. You know why, right? Our boy.
Yep.
Our boy. First of all, you guys all know Russ. Russ is a good friend of the show, and Russ is also a gentleman that, like me, has a bit of a past and has been to prison. Has oddly enough been to Corcoran, which is
yes, I have.
yeah, this is the prison that they have made Danny Masterson's forever home. So before we get rolling, a couple of things. Number one, prisons turn over. It's a term you hear a lot if you're doing time. They'll say the yard turned over. What does that mean? What it means is it was a solid yard, right? There were guys there selling dope. There were guys there running hustles, right? There were guys there fighting. There was politics, all kinds of stuff like that. Then they said, no more. Right. They got rid of everybody, and they brought in, with all due respect, freaks, people with bad paperwork, right? People that hurt women and children, and that happens. So you were in Corcoran when it was active, right? You were in there when it was cracking?
Yeah, definitely was. I was there through 96, 97, part of 98. And I was there when the guards were taking bets on fights and putting us in spots where, two of us, the two enemies, would go out to the yard and one of us would leave on a stretcher. So the guards went down for that, and then they started overturning everything. I was in the SHU program because of an incident at another prison where I had to go talk to somebody, and that talk didn't end too well for that person. And a guard had got intervened in that, and he didn't like what I had to say either when he woke up. But I was in a holding cell waiting to be transferred. And that's why I went Corcoran.
So people are trying to get an idea. When you go online and you look at pictures of prison cells, in our heads, when we think prison cells, we think of bars, right? You get up, you grab the bar, right? You smack things against it, hold your mirror out so you can look down the tier to see if cops are coming. And those prisons do exist.
Yes, they do.
They do. They don't build them like that anymore, right?
No.
Nowadays, they all have metal doors. So it gets a little bit tougher to be able to see down the tier. It requires a little bit more effort. What were the cell setup like when you were in Corcoran?
Okay, when in Corcoran, a lot of them had perforated hole doors. Okay, and then they had you couldn't really do anything but send your fishing line out underneath the door to somebody across High Squirrel. But she's just staring at me. No. But they were all perforated. They just had holes. And then, like I said, you had your feed slot. You really couldn't do anything. No. So there were no bars to clank around and nothing like that.
Yeah.
I had 2 cell extractions while I was there. There are double bunked, and then they had concrete ones, the concrete beds that were on each side of the cell. But you didn't have a shelf or anything like that. You had a toilet, and that was about it. That was
not much to it, right? Your basic prison cells. Now, as I started looking these up, Corcoran, basically what they've done is they have now made it legal in the U.S. Corcoran is not 3 inches bigger, and it is not 3 inches smaller. So what that basically means is this is the smallest amount of that they can legally put a human being in there and have him have another cellmate. Now, go ahead.
Next to Folsom, Folsom has actual cells that were dug into granite, or it seemed like they were dug into granite, and they also had the perforated door cells, and you could get your own, your key to your lock or combo or whatever to get in your cell, in and out. They have some of the oldest, but what Corcoran does, they do have some of the smallest.
Right. Yes, I'm terribly small. If you look at the pictures, they're very, very small cells. Now, again, people, you're gonna have 2 people in there. Recently, recently a letter got a letter got read, and someone was talking about how I perhaps paint a picture of what's going to happen to people who get into to prison. That it may be unrealistic, and while entertaining, may not be the actual case. It's funny because as this was coming out, the most protected inmate in America, a man by the name of Derek Chauvin, had just been stabbed 27 times. Right.
Right.
But what bummed me out about that particular incident is that letter was written by a chomo. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do everything within their power to try to make the people on the street uncomfortable. You see, they can't make people uncomfortable from the inside anymore. So they
No.
write the outside in order to do this. What has been your experience in terms of now? Obviously, you were never on a special needs yard,
Right.
because usually, there's one right there. There's one right there. Usually, there's fences in between you and the special needs yards, right?
Right. They usually keep them farther away from the lower the level. Okay, like I know it's a high level now. Corcoran is high level because it does have the shoe program there, long-term shoe.
Correct.
Okay, and then you have another level yard in between that, and then you have the sensitive needs yards that are the farthest away from those. Because any communication we can get from a level 3 to somebody down the line is
Right.
the quicker we can get to that person.
Correct. They're
And
worried about that.
Yeah, they're very worried about that. So you got a higher rank, more tipped up, doing their thing on level 4 or level 3, and then you go down. But you got to remember, there's overcrowding. They have turned gymnasiums into dorms,
Yeah.
and they are 3 bunks high. Now,
Yeah.
lots of guys have been at Corcoran a lot longer than Danny, so he's more than likely going to go into the gymnasium on a sensitive needs yard.
Yeah.
He's not going to get a cell.
Yeah,
Those
not
guys,
from Jump Street. Yeah, not from
no,
Jump Street.
no.
And the crazy thing about that too, for whatever reason, in most places, the fellas like to refer to that as Broadway. Not sure,
Yeah,
but in every prison that it goes to, whether it's in a federal one or whatever, whenever you are forced to just line up bunk after bunk after bunk, they usually call it Broadway. It's terrifying. It
yeah.
is literally the hardest place in the world to try to get sleep, because there's a guy above you, there's a guy below you, there's a guy to the left of you and to the right of you, and all of them are felons. Right?
Yep.
They're all in there for things that you may not want to be really excited about. But
You got.
that's reality.
Yeah, and like we've talked about before, no matter where you go, whether you're a dropout, whether you're a whatever, you might still be that, but you're there. And if somebody's going to want to be the top dog on the yard, period.
Right.
Somebody's going to want to hold the keys. Somebody's going to want to do that. And don't think for a second that they won't, be a predator.
Yeah.
And that's, you have somebody doing life that doesn't have anything. And somebody walks in there who has access to money, commissary, this, that, whatever. It's going to be one of two things. He's either going to be sleeping on his stomach on the bottom bunk, or he's going to be paying.
Yeah.
So he's going to get
now
caught.
You said a couple of things that I absolutely know what you're talking about, but anybody who might be new here might not. One of the terms that you used, was dropout, right?
Yeah.
Could you explain to everybody what a dropout is, right?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, a dropout is somebody who was in a gang, or maybe even a high-ranking official, or somebody. I'm sure somebody's seen it on Discovery Channel or some kind of show where a dropout has dropped out of a gang, and now he is marked, because it's usually blood in, blood out.
Yes.
You got to spill blood to get in, and you got to spill your own blood to get out. And somebody doesn't want to do that. Somebody's tired of it. Somebody's too old. They're getting, I don't need to do this anymore. And then they'll just drop out. But don't think that they don't have that mentality to go, you're not going to, they still have all that life that they've lived on the yard doing that, and they're going to bring it over to a punk yard? No,
No.
they're not. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. And
So
I think that that's really kind of an important distinction that people keep seeming to miss. Well, they're going to put them on a special needs yard. Special needs yards have people who used to be on real yards. So
oh yeah,
what Russ just explained is called a dropout. What that
yep,
means is this person had tipped up. They were a member of a gang, and then they did something within the gang, and the gang said, "You're gone. You can never walk a yard again." So
yep,
they now have to go to a sensitive need yard, right? Okay.
a
There's
safety
also,
yard.
yeah, a safety yard. There's also the check-in. Okay.
Hmm.
The check-in is very similar to a dropout, but check-ins are usually not gang members, right?
No,
And what happens is they tend to run up debts that they can't pay. Right?
right,
That's one thing. Or maybe they have a physical relationship with somebody, because that does happen in there. But some kind of beef happens. And this person thinks, well, I don't know that I want to get into a fight over this. So
right,
maybe I'll just walk upstairs, right? The term is usually run them upstairs, because the office, right, is on the second floor. So you walk upstairs, and that person would then go into the counselor's office and say, "Hey, I can't be here anymore.
right.
You
I've
know,
got a problem. I
I
got to
got a
leave this
problem."
yard. And they're going to have to drop a name. They're going to have to drop a dime on somebody to get off that yard.
That's right.
And
That's
who are they
right.
going to do it? You
Yeah, and
know?
then that's essential, because people, I get questions from people that say, why don't they just do that all the time? How come people don't just all the time go, oh, yeah, I don't want to be here? Normally, like in the feds, they want three names. That's what they tell you. They want
Mm,
three names. And those three names will have to be doing something, not, getting high, or, they're running a sports book. No,
right,
they want dirt. They want how the dope's getting in. They want what guards are crooked, that kind of stuff. Well,
right.
those people also drop out and end up on a special needs yard. But these people were stone cold killers. That's how they got to prison, right?
Yep.
Make no mistake. They got to prison by being mean people.
You didn't,
All of a sudden you drop out, you don't go, okay, I'm cool now. I won't hurt anybody.
right, right. You don't go to jail. You don't go to prison for a misdemeanor.
That's right.
Okay.
There were nobody in there for misdemeanors.
No, they're all felons.
He is absolutely going to be going to a special needs yard. He would
Yes.
be going to a special needs yard even if his name was not Danny Masterson,
Right.
because what he did is considered in the group of people known as convicts, right? What he did is not allowed. It is inexcusable, man, right?
Right.
That can't happen. So
Nope.
they would have to put him on a sensitive needs yard to start with. Now, on top of that, he happens to be rich and famous. So
Exactly.
they're going to put him on a special needs yard. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be on a yard with actors who all sexually assaulted people. We're just going to
Right.
have a section of just famous people from Hollywood who did
Hmm.
bad things to women.
Yep.
That doesn't exist. If you think
Nope.
that there's that part of prison, it doesn't work that way,
Nope.
right? And believe it or not, there are guys that are 65 and 70 years old, right? These are guys that'll get out and do 100 pull-ups. I mean, there are some people in prison you would not believe, right? Older
Hmm.
guys who say, guess what? I'm checking in. What? I'm checking in. Why? Because the closest prison to me is that one. And there's a damn good chance they're going to run me over there. So I'm going to check in, see
Right.
if I can't get close to, say, Larry Nasser, right?
Yeah.
Larry Nasser's he's on a special needs yard. The man has been attacked 3 times that I know of so far, right? This happens. You can't protect somebody because
Nope.
at some point, people, right? At some point, someone is going to be as close to him as I am to Squirrel.
Right.
And if that person goes, right, and then jumps on top of him and starts punching, there's not much a cop can do, even if they want to. And
And
I'll be honest with you.
you got to understand that there's torpedoes everywhere. Somebody's going to know a debt, even on a sensitive needs yard. Somebody's going to do something. Say, look, pay the debt. Go over there, get him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, here comes mine.
It's
Come on, sweetheart.
not a stupid question at all. This is actually it's a very good question. When you get in trouble inside prison, right? You go to jail. there's a jail in prison. And just think of prison as a microcosm of the earth, right? It's a small little world that you live in. Inside there has to be a place for the bad people to go. If you can manage to just be a convict, then you can live there. If not, you go to the SHU, the special housing unit, right? But a sensitive need yards means what you did on the street requires protection. You did something to a child or to a woman, and that is going to require that they protect you from Jump Street, because the fellas don't much like that.
He's got the double-edged sword going against him. So he's got the money and he's got the crime. So he's going to have to pay one way or the other. I can guarantee you, when he got the book in at Corcoran, it's like nothing you ever seen. They hand you a trash can lid, and say, "Welcome to Gladiator School."
Right.
That's it. And that's what we called it. When I was there, it was called Gladiator School. Because once you got there, you started it in the holding cell all the way into the SHU. That's what we did. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, well, and people, even when they take, let's say that there is a special needs part of the prison. Okay, we're gonna make a special needs part of the. We don't say Corcoran's now a special needs yard.
No.
What we say is this part over there is a special needs yard. And do you know how complex that makes things? Because try going to the guys in the kitchen and saying, "Hey, we need you to make the chow that we're going to be bringing to the special needs yard." You got to get a whole set of people to cook. And usually they're cops, because the inmates will spit in it. They'll throw broken glass in it. They'll do anything they can to get at these people, right? These are really considering. I mean, they're considered the scum of the earth, right? It is okay to throw feces on these people.
Oh,
if you did this to anybody else, they would kill you. But you can literally throw feces and urine on these people, and that's considered okay.
Oh yeah, I mean we would make spears. All right, did anybody ever tell you how to make a spear? We used to get National Geographics, really nice, thick plastic. Save our sugars from breakfast. Get that all, and syrup. Get it all nice and tight. Get a little of your, poop whenever you poop. Set it off to the side for a week or two. And that spear would become so hard, you just stick the tip in it. And when they come by, whack, that's all it needs, just to break the skin. And they could die from that. And they'll do it.
It is absolutely so foul. It really is. I mean, this is where we're going. How many people do they usually have on a special need yard, says Nate B. It varies massively. And the reason is this. You would not believe how many special needs yards there are. In fact, in the federal system, just about every single prison, unless it is a 3 or a 4 yard, meaning the top levels, right, for the people who are the most dangerous. But at the 1 and 2 levels, every single one of them has got freaks there, right? They have people sprinkled around. Now, I don't think they're going to do that with Danny, because he is very high profile, right? They're going to put him they're going to protect him as much as they possibly can. And I never said they weren't going to, but that didn't work real well for Derek Chauvin. It hasn't worked real well for Larry Nasser. And yes, he was the guy that molested the gymnasts. Hasn't really worked too well for any of those people. You remember Jared from Subway?
Oh yeah. He's toasted. He has been beat. I don't know how many times. The last time was the worst. Here's the thing. California has started shipping sensitive needs like child molesters and all that stuff out to other prisons. They even did it out here in Indiana. And what the California inmates did that they shipped with them started riots and started killing guys in Newcastle. It was bad. You can't just do that. You can't take a convict like I am or you were and put us in a cell with another race. If that's what we're used to in Indiana, they do that.
Right.
It doesn't go over too well.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't. And by the way, if anybody thinks that I'm getting my rocks off to this, right, or that I take no pleasure whatsoever in the fact that our system, right, doesn't take care of business. Because truthfully, what should happen is our system should take care of business, but they don't, right? So they leave it to us. Because I'll be really honest with you. A guy that sells me a substance that I put in my body to get high gets the same amount of time for what that man did. Okay, that's not the justice system. So when you let that guy inside, we'll take care of it from there. Now, you may find that really messed up. And you know what? You got the right. You do. But that's the system. And this is where the cat's going, for real. I promise you. Now they're going to try to protect him. I promise you they are. But it's only going to take about a half a second. I don't know how many fist fights you've been in, but they're over in 7 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They last 25 minutes in movies. Right? Inside, they're over in 7 seconds. And usually somebody's been stabbed.
A guy walks into the cell and it's over.
It's over.
I mean, you're going to start hitting desks, floors, concrete, bunks, toilets. You're going to bounce off of everything you hit them.
Absolutely. Now, here's something funny. How long before we hear about the first beatdown? Now, this is really kind of funny because I'll tell you something. They're not really big on letting information out of prisons. Let me tell you something. I talk all the time about Taylor, Donald Scott Taylor. I use his name because he's dead. You can look him up. Donald Scott Taylor was a cellmate of mine. So I looked him up when I got out of prison the last time. I wanted to know. He was doing life. So I wanted to know where he had ended up. And it said he's been released. And I went, holy hell, how's that possible? Right? This dude had 4 lives. He's been released. He was released out of Victorville. He died in a cell. They will not tell you how. I can get no information on it. They don't let out a lot of information, right? They really don't. So, it's going to be interesting.
Well, it's what to expect is expect everything, because you won't hear about it unless he is taken out to a hospital. You will not.
Right.
Unless he's stabbed multiple times like this other guy. Yeah, Derek Chauvin. Yep. You won't hear about it. But every time he gets in a fight, you won't hear about it. He will be in a few unit pretty soon. I'm pretty sure of that.
When we hear about it, and you nailed it. When we hear about it is when that person has to leave the facility, right?
Yeah.
When they got Chauvin, he had to be taken out of there, right? So that's going to make the news. But normally, no. If it's just 2 guys getting into a fist fight, right?
Oh.
And by the way, you think, well, that's not 2 guys. Oh, it is, right? If we're in line getting ready to eat, right? And Russ just hauls off and Sundays me as hard as he can in the ear, and I fall to the ground, we're both going to the shoe. I'm being charged with a fight. He's being charged with a fight. And you know how I could get out of that? I could say, he did it. He punched me first.
Right.
Guess what? It don't work well. It doesn't work like that. Right? It does not work like that. What you say is, I fell down.
Yeah.
Who hit you? Didn't get a real good look at him, sir.
I didn't see him. I didn't see him. Well, how'd that other guy get the black eye? I don't know. I don't know.
Didn't get a real good look at it.
Nope.
How long do I expect DM will last in prison? If you get what I mean. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I think he's going to do. I think he'll do the vast majority of his sentence. But have you ever seen like a large fish tank, like those, 100, 200 gallon fish tanks where they put in feeder fish? The small little fish, and, sucks because they know that at any given point, if they just slow down for a second, something's going to bite them and swallow them. And that's going to be the end of their time on planet Earth. Right. I have a feeling that our boy is going to be spending every minute of the rest of his time that he's got, right, looking over his shoulder. And it's a terrible way to live. It really is.
Nat B just asked a good question too. And let's
see what I get.
Can other inmates leak stories to the media for money? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They can.
You bet you they can. And it happens all of the time.
Yeah.
It happens all of the time. But now, if you get caught doing this, right, you then get in the feds, you get put into what's called an SMU, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went to the special management unit, right? They have a special communication unit. Now, what they do is 24 hours, man, they're listening to every single thing you're saying, right? Every phone call. If you write a letter, they're taking pictures of it, photocopies of it, all of that stuff. One of the reasons that we struggle with Q is because Q is on communication watch currently. He didn't get
Ah,
written up. He did not get a write up, but he will spend the next 3 years being looked at. He
I
was
didn't know
trading
that.
stock. He was trading
Oh,
stock big time from
there's
inside and doing really well, by the way. He was
they
killing it.
there were Mexican mafia members that were, you know, filling out their taxes, getting 60 grand taxes.
Oh, I
They were
remember
playing the
that.
system. Yeah, you remember?
I
They
remember that
were
hustle. Yep.
they were sending their kids through college and everything. And
I
man,
remember. Yep, I remember that hustle. And you would go down to the law library, and there would be a guy in there filling out papers, going, "What are you
yeah,
doing? Tax returns." Tax returns, yeah. Don't worry about it. Sit down. Look, you got a social security number, and every single one of them doing it. They all got it. I mean, it was a matter of time before they just, went and rounded them all up, and they all went back to prison. But yeah, the hustles inside. There's always somebody working an angle of some kind. It's pretty
oh
awesome.
yeah, these guys were making killings until
Yeah,
what's that? Ruben Boxer Enriquez gave it all
yeah,
up.
yeah,
And that's
yeah. You
another
know,
thing I find funny about that Chauvin thing. The Mexican mafia members are trained. They from day one, they are trained. They read Sun Tzu, they read it all, Nietzsche, all of it, and they know how to kill people, and they know how to, where to get them, how to get them, what to do. And this Chauvin guy got hit this many times and he didn't die. That always,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
No, I want to tell you something, and Russ gets it, right? This is something that, unless you've been inside, probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you get stabbed more than 3 or 4 times and you don't die, they had no intention of killing you.
Right.
They were sending an image, I mean a
Message.
message. And what they'll do is they will make a weapon, right? And then they'll have it wrapped up, and it'll be that long, right? Literally, it'll be that long. So they can go over and go like this, and it's going to put a lot of holes in you, right?
Oh
And you're
yeah.
going to leak all over the place, but it's
Hmm.
not going to get down to any organs, if you know what I mean. Or you send someone in with a bone crusher, and the
Yep.
first time that he sticks that thing in, he's trying to get in someone's chest, and that's going to be the end of it.
And they're going to
There were,
offer him. They're going to
yeah,
offer him a job. Yeah, I suggest he does not work in the kitchen. I can tell you that much.
may not be the place he wants
No,
to work.
we'll be having Danny sandwiches.
I love this. This is pretty funny. Mile High Hokey says, gotta love it. Corcoran State Prison made it to Yelp with an average review of 2.9 stars. Hi,
If
Russ.
you pull,
Congratulations. Yeah, on the new job. Congratulations on
yeah,
the new
thank you
job.
very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah, that's good stuff.
If you look up Corcoran Prison right now, just Google it. It says it's closed. It says it's closed. It opened from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it's closed. They went through a big change after like 45 of I was hit with I was in the ass end of all that corruption and all the
Right.
fighting. And I wasn't shot. There was another dude who was shot. I've been hit with a block gun. You know what that is.
Yes, I do.
Um, I've been hit with a block gun in the back. I've been hit with mini 14,
All kinds of
ricochets
crime. Yeah.
off the concrete walls. They went through a big change in Corcoran. So since I've been out, so I don't know how it's really changed, but they shut it down for a while, and
Yep.
then they started saying it was a rehabilitation prison.
Yeah, it's funny how those things keep turning over. This is a great question. This really is. Valerie says, Tommy, what about when the crime putting a guy on SN was a consensual 17-year-old girl and a 30-year-old man? It's the same as a SA of a small child. Now, here's the deal. A lot of that's going to depend on what yard you get on and who the shot caller is, right?
Right.
There are guys on yards. There are shot callers who will say, you know what, man? Look, this dude was 22, right? And this girl was 17. I don't see this really as a problem. And he'll give them a pass for
Right.
that yard. He does not have the right to say that anywhere else, but he's got the keys to that yard. He's going to let dude walk. Now, I'll be honest with you. 30 and 17, ain't no way in hell. There's not a yard anywhere that's gonna fly. 30 and 17, nope. I promise you, the fellas are gonna think that's pretty messed up. Now, if it's a couple of years difference, I've seen that. I've seen that happen where people,
I've seen
use their head.
22 and 17 or 18 and 25, and it's a really matter of what that the key holder says, you know what I mean? Or if they were in a relationship all through high school and this happened, and there
Yeah.
are circumstances, but it's a fine line.
It's
It
a
really
fine
is.
line.
It is a fine line.
And you gotta have a shot caller that's got something on the on the ball. Very often to become a shot caller, you're going to get there a couple of ways. Sometimes it's because you are a very, very shrewd person and you've been working deals and like behind the scenes and doing everything so that someday that yard's going to be yours. Because if you're doing life, 10% of all of the dope that's going into that prison goes to the shot caller. Right? Every single person on that yard, whether you're a gangbanger or not, owes a tribute to that shot caller every month. And trust me when I tell you, you're going to pay it. Right? So if you're in there, that's a great gig to have. Right? Being the shot caller is a really good gig to have. But you can also get there by just being tough as hell. And sometimes they're the dumbest people you've ever met in your entire life. I've met some shot callers that I promise you could not do simple math. But if you said, look, man, I was 19 and my girlfriend was 18, right? There were 4 days difference in age, but all of a sudden he'd be like, nah, kill that dude. Because they see things in black and white and there's, they're not burdened by deep thought, people. They really aren't.
Yeah, it was just, it was weird because it was an on-call thing. When the guards know that there's a problem, and sometimes they'll even let people know, if they're cool about things, hey, this guy's got that charge, you might want to deal with it. Or, he's got to do this and you got to deal with it. Or they'll put you in that spot where they will just purposely put you in the spot. They have okay, I'll give you a little quick. The way it's a 4-side or a 3-sided building. Okay, you walk in through a sally port. You got one side, A side, B side, whatever. All your cells are, all around upper tier, lower tier. That's it. That's for California prisons all over the place now. That's their
right.
I don't know how it is in the feds, but anytime you walk in and out of the sally port, that's murder row right there.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's going through, there's probably 7, 8 times that I've actually had to get in to the sally port to get somebody because it's yard time. Everybody's going in and out.
Yeah.
And then when everybody's out, there's somebody laying in the middle of the sally port on the floor bleeding.
That's how I got hit. What Russ is trying to explain is this. You do not go over into someone else's unit. If you're in E1, I'm not going over to B4 to hang out with Russ. So we do hand signals, we talk at lunch, and we meet each other out for rec time so we can hang out outside or whatever, right? But they really restrict your movement. So if I'm in E1 and they say to me, look, you need to hit so-and-so, and he's in C2, well, I'm not getting in there. So I either got to try to time it on the yard or I'm going to do it through that sally port, right? Where everybody starts getting it. If you happen to be in one of those choke areas where 9 units, 10 units go through in one spot, that's where I got stabbed.
Right.
That's usually where it happens. It's an ugly system, people. I promise you, we're not high-fiving and we're not saying what a great job the United States of America is. We're just telling you what it's like.
Yeah, what it is like is, it's like eating. When I was at Folsom, when you're sitting in the chow hall, and Folsom is old, and Corcoran's the same way. You sit down to eat, and there's bullet holes in the table.
Absolutely.
They will not mess around. There are no warning shots fired. There's nothing.
Nope.
So it could actually happen. Somebody get in a fight on the yard, and if it happens to be our buddy, and he's hit, sorry.
I think it really is so ugly that sometimes it's hard to wrap your brain around. This is a good question. How many actual decent people get caught up in the prison system in your experience? And that's a question for both of you. What do you think, Russ?
Actual decent people, like how? because when somebody's on drugs, they're totally different from when they're not.
Amen.
And they could be the best person in the world when they're not on drugs.
Amen. Yeah.
Decent
That's huge.
people. I mean, you could rob your grandma, take her pension. You could, steal your mom's car, do some pretty hideous stuff. But if you're a child diddler, you're worse.
Right. Yeah, the
You're
worst.
loved
The worst.
if you did all that other stuff. But if you did that, you're hated. So decent.
So, yeah, my experience, honestly, as far as decent people and things like that, my experience has been this. I would go the other route. And I would say that there's about 10 to 12, maybe 15% tops of people in there that are sick. I'm talking about sick, twisted
Oh yeah.
people that have absolutely no reason whatsoever to ever be allowed back on the street. These are
Right.
people that will do awful things to humans because they enjoy it,
Yeah.
right? For no other reason. Other than that, I think he nailed it. I think that there's a lot of people that did an awful lot of dope and got really out of control. And dope makes you do things that you normally wouldn't want to do. Will
Right.
Danny Masterson get visits? That's up to his people, right? He can get visits. Now, whether or not his people are going to show up for him, that's going to be another question altogether.
That's when he goes through his psych evaluation and he goes through his counselor. He has to fill out a visitation form and put all the people that he wants to be visited by, and they all have to go through the background check. And if they clear the background check, they can visit. But will they visit?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to have business or attorney visits,
Right.
and all that. But Corcoran's not very close to anything.
It's also degrading. You know what I mean? Like I remember my wife would come and visit me, and the process for her, she's treated like a criminal. She's
Right.
treated the same way I am. They're treating her like, we think there might be some dope in your car. Like she would show up and they'd say, "Let's go out to your car and search it." And
Right.
she was an officer of the court, and they really do everything they can to make it so that you don't want to come back. Right. They would just assume not have to do their job, but it's visiting is really hard. It's great for the inmate. I think it's really hard for the people that are showing up.
Right. I heard I heard you say something, I think it was earlier, about how you wanted, when you got on the yard at a certain age, you're supposed to be retired.
Yeah.
And they came right to you, and said you got to put in work.
Well,
It's same thing in the state, but they say the same thing. Once you hit like 50 or 55, you could just sit back. But then again, you're going to have some young punk come up and disrespect you.
yeah.
You're going to have to deal with it.
You're just not going to get out of there without fighting. It's a great concept. It really is. It's a great concept. I fought really hard to not do it. I really did. I bent over backwards to not do it.
I fought to the point where I didn't have to do it because nobody wanted to take that chance.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that really is.
It was. It worked out for me finally.
Justin says, I bet Danny cries all day. You know what? He's going to learn really, really quickly to not do that.
Yeah.
I promise you, he'll learn really, really fast not to do that, because as sick and just disgusting as that is, right? When somebody sees that, the vultures will come out of the woodwork. They will not, there's not going to be any pity. There's not going to be anybody that goes, that poor guy. They're going to be looking at him going, oh man, right? Victim. They're going to see a V on the dude's forehead. And that's all it's going to be. And that's awful. Why was I stabbed? Well, that time, because I was doing a lot of dope, and I had I used to have a ponytail. I looked a lot like George Carlin, and I walked with a cane. I had recently had a stroke, so it was I was very distinctive looking, and someone was sent out to go stab the old white guy with the cane, because he had made a very large, he had run up a very large debt that he wasn't paying. And this guy said, man, no, this dude pays his debts. And they said, no, he doesn't. So he went out to get a guy named Dave, but he didn't get Dave. He stabbed me. and it cost him his life, unfortunately, because I was actually pretty good friends with the dude. But
Right.
he hit the wrong guy, and they do not allow that, especially if we're not of the same race. And the person that stabbed me was not white. So,
that's a major.
Yeah, it's a pretty big screw up as far as it goes. That's about as
Right.
bad as it's about as bad a screw up as you could possibly get. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You do not fight. You do not stab. You do not do anything to people outside of your own race without permission. Your shot caller goes to their shot caller. Two of them get together and they go, all right, these two have a beef. Let's just let them fight it out.
Yep. Go to the Thunderdome.
Right. Go to the Thunderdome. Catch a cell. Right. Go in there and catch a cell. Do what you do. And when it's over, it's over. When they walk out, it's over. Right. And that's, that happens a lot. Or, it doesn't work that way. And then, it gets a little bit nastier and they say, well, one of those people is going to be leaving this yard for this reason. And, then who's ever next to put in work, he's going to go hit that guy or stab that guy or do whatever. It's ugly. It is.
It's a vicious cycle is what it is. It is. Danny's going to be a cell dweller. He's not going to want to leave his cell because probably a fear. He might do it once or twice, but he's going to make a mistake. You never hang out with the first person that comes up to you and says hi and wants to be your friend, because you don't know what their charges are. Somebody could be coming after them and you could be there. You're hit too. It just doesn't work that way. I walk with my back to the wall. So unless I know you, or unless I know somebody that knows you, or I know about you, I've got nothing to say to you.
Exactly. Nothing to say. And this is not a normal person, right? If it was a normal person, when he shows up, someone's going to walk up and be like, hey, man, we need to see your paperwork. We're going to give you X number of days to get it. In the meantime, you can sit at the table and we'll treat you like kind of a homeboy. But if that paperwork doesn't show up, obviously we're going to get you off the yard, right? Like he's going to walk in the front door and they're going to be like, hey, holy hell, it's Danny Masterson.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nobody going up and saying, hey, can I see your paperwork?
And that's the thing. He went up from LA County with everyone else that was going on that trip. So everyone else knows that he was in protective custody in LA County. So that rumor is already out. So it's already gone. They know who he is. They know what he's about. Hey, I've got 55 years to do. I don't have any family. I don't have any money. That's my ticket right there. Yeah. And I'll go through and do what I have to do to make sure he's safe as long as he pays me.
Absolutely.
The minute he doesn't,
absolutely.
This
is he really has put himself into a situation that I can't think of one that is worse on planet Earth. I'm not joking. I can't think of one that's worth it's terror 24/7. There's never a period of time. And I've described showers to you people many, many times, right? Mm-hmm. When you go to take a shower, you got a guy that watches so that if by some chance somebody wants to hurt me, Russ has got my back. He's standing there. He's got, a weapon and he's going to make sure no one's going to get, who the hell is going to watch his back?
Mm-mm. You got some 125-pound guy who got convicted of raping 4, infant little boys is watching your back. No, it ain't gonna happen.
No, it isn't gonna happen. No, it's not gonna happen. Could he have a bodyguard that he could pay on the inside? He could. Absolutely, he could. This kind of thing happens all of the time. It would require a lot of money. It would also require you running that by the shot collar.
Yep.
Now, more often than not, the shot collar is going to go no. Or the shot collar is going to say, you were going to get $500 a month from this guy. Tell him $2,000 a month because I'm taking $1,500 of it. And we can get you 500 like that. And then they will keep doing it until the people say, hey, I'm kind of having a problem. Yeah, forget it. You have a problem that you're not getting any more help.
Right.
So,
I don't want to see it happen to anybody, the way that it does happen, but you brought it on yourself. I can't help you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It couldn't happen to a better person. It doesn't matter. Anybody who does what he did or does it to minors, they just don't have any air to breathe.
There was a shot caller, and you can look this up. There was a shot caller at Victorville, and he had been accused of exactly what we're talking about. He had been accused of allowing people with similar crimes to pay him under the table so that they could walk that yard as if they were solid individuals. That got out. People found out about that, and they removed his head from his body. I'm not telling you this for shock value, but they removed his head from his body and left a couple of homemade shanks, one in each eye. And it was meant to send a point to whoever took over next. We don't allow that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it was probably ordered by his second in command.
Probably, so, yeah, for real.
It was. You can't just get away with it. I think he deserves everything he's going to get, and then some. If he doesn't go the Scientology way and unalive himself, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that will help him.
Yeah, it's. Do I think Ashton Kutcher will show up to visit him? If he does, he will do it once, right? He may decide to go down there and visit his friend. If he does, he will do it once. He will not go through that process a second time. It is degrading. It is humiliating. And it makes you feel like a criminal, right?
Yeah.
The person who's visiting, it makes you feel like you have done something really, really wrong. And I don't see a lot of famous people putting up with that, right? People who have been spoiled.
You have to understand that the check that they do is extremely thorough on anybody who wants to visit. So if somebody's got something in the closet they don't want known, they won't be up there to visit. No. They won't put in for it either.
As a lot of you know, he was fond of the term donkey punch, and most of you are familiar with this as a concept of what this is. That nickname, I assure you, will have followed him, and he is. I honestly cannot wrap my head around anybody on this planet right now that I think I would, if they said you could be him or anybody else, I'll take anybody else, right? And I don't even need to know who the other person is, right? I'll take B, whoever B is, because that dude is not going to have a pleasant life. Mm-hmm. He really is not.
He's probably, I would assume that he's in the gymnasium because like I said, everybody there has priority over him. And then all the guys that were there already in the gymnasium are waiting or doing what they can to get into a cell or wait for somebody to get out or whatever. But you're in corporate. You're level 3, level 4. You're not going anywhere for a while. So the gymnasium probably is where he's at. Maybe even on the top bunk, 3 bunks high. Man.
Oh man, Broadway would be. People, there's no way to describe how frightening this is. And I am not a small person. Like when I went to prison, I was big. Like I was really big. You know what I mean? Like 280, 275. I was a very, very big guy. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying because every single place you look, there is somebody and there is nothing between you and them.
Nope.
Right? Nothing.
You have to turn sideways. That's it. Everybody's got a lock on their locker.
It is the worst thing. I'm not kidding. People, whenever I would show up and I knew Pahrump, they said to me, "Oh, there are dorms." I said, "Only dorms?" They're like, "Yeah, unless you go to the shoe." And they said, "Do you have any people here that you can't get along with?" And I said, "Well, there are a few gangs." And I proceeded to list every single gang in the entire prison system. I got a problem with these people. I got a problem with these people. I got a problem with these people. I'm not kidding. They're like, "How did that happen?" I was like, rough couple of years, and they took me directly to the hole because I cannot do dorms. I could never sleep that way.
I couldn't either. Nope. You come from a level 4, level 5, where I was at the beginning, where they walk you down the run with a metal screen next to you in front of the cell so nobody can get at you.
Yeah.
And you get used to that. You're there for years. And then once you get out, it's culture shock. You get out to a dorm living, oh my God. No, the first time somebody sneezes wrong at you, you're off. It snaps you.
And it really is one of those things that when you think about, I mean, it's terrifying. It really is.
Mhm.
to be that surrounded, right, by that many people. And you again, this is not a level 1 or 2 yard people, right? The
Mm.
people that got there, got there for doing things that landed him there. You understand the idea, right? When he was going through that intake process we kept talking about, they were figuring out where to send him. So they sent him to a not a nice yard.
Nope.
He went to a yard with some bad people. Um,
Everyone
I
knows who he is. So
I do too. Maybe that makes me a sick person, right? I'll take
yeah,
it.
I will
But
too.
yeah, that might make me a sick person, but I kind of dig that. It certainly seems like there's some justice built into that somewhere. But
You know,
that's my personal opinion.
I like what Ben said, but Ben, I think that his fear is probably a little bit more, and not taking anything away from the victims because they went through enough. But I think what the guys will do to him if they get a chance or the opportunity arises, he will forget everything he ever did to them because he will be worried about if he's going to wake up.
Yeah, it's that there's no way to put to do any kind of justice into the depravity that the prison system is. I mean, if you think about it from a logical standpoint, what happens if you get the worst of the worst? If you literally take the worst of the worst and put them all in one place, right? And then you basically say, set up a government amongst yourself. For real. You set up a government among yourself, and we're just going to stay here and make sure that you guys, don't get too out of line. That's the American prison system.
Yeah,
Did I miss that? Is that about right?
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I think it's so complicated. It really is. But
Well,
if you're inside, you can understand a whole lot more than from outside looking in. You know, I
yeah.
don't know. It's just not going to be a good thing for him.
No, no, it's not. And unlike I think, and I could be wrong. Don, I'm not mad at you for that. You're sorry for him. I'm not mad at you for that. I
No,
get that. I get that people. I can completely understand why somebody would feel bad for anyone because, to be honest, I mean, and look, I've said this before. If I crack a joke about anybody on planet Earth getting raped, can you imagine how fast you would cancel me?
oh yeah.
But I can crack a joke about an inmate getting raped all day long, and nobody will do anything but laugh. Don't
Hmm.
drop the soap on a rope. Hope he gets an inmate named Bubba, right? Hope he finds someone that really digs this and this. We say it every single day, right? I hope
Right.
they lock him up, throw away the key, and I hope he gets a amorous celly, who really hopes that maybe he just wants to get married, right? We can joke about it because inmates aren't human beings. We're not.
Okay.
You know what
Hold
I'm
on,
saying?
Tommy. Matt B just asked a question. Somebody asked a question earlier and I missed it. What kind of work opportunity do they have at that prison? Oh, at Corcoran, the kitchen porter, recreation clerk. Uh, you could do a laundry clerk. Um, what else is there? Warden's clerk.
Yeah,
Um,
the
just
every
basic.
single thing that takes
Yeah.
place inside there,
Yeah.
there is not a everything in there. The laundry, the cooking, the cleaning, everything is done
Right.
by an inmate.
Uh,
Now, whether or not the fellas, because they do tend to run the crews, whether or not the
mhm.
fellas are going to let that cat do any kind of of work, I don't see him getting the job.
I don't either. I think they might try to place him because he is educated. Did he graduate high school through
Yeah,
Scientology or something?
I assume that he has at least probably got a GED.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to college in there and not have to work, or they might make him uh, a recreation clerk or something to do with the yard. But that's even if they even let him on the yard. So who knows?
Okay, so let me back this up because what she was saying is she cannot feel bad for him. Here's the thing:
Okay.
If you do a crime, right? If you do a crime and the crime is, let's say the crime is assault, and you have been found guilty of this, this, and this. If we're cool with that, if that's all right as a society, and by the way, I'm cool with it. For real. I'll even take the job. But put them in a room and let us take 45 minutes with them, and we'll end the entire thing. Right.
Yep.
And when it's done, they can take them out back and they can bury them. There's been a lot to say that these people can't be rehabilitated. Okay. If that's how we're going to do it, that's how we're going to do it. I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if what we're going to do is say this guy gets 30 years in prison, then you got to protect him. Sorry. That's really how it ought to run. If we're cool with it, then let's let it happen. But if we're going to claim that we're protecting these people, well, then let's try to protect them so that they just have to do their time.
Exactly.
You know, I'm probably not going to be popular with that, but who cares?
Well, I mean, I agree with you too, but it's like I've said, and that's exactly how I am. I mean, if I see something happening like that, I won't hesitate to pull a gun and kill somebody or unalive somebody. But if they're doing it in front of somebody in front of me, you have that obligation as a man to help. You know, I don't have no sympathy for somebody who's going to hurt a woman or a woman or assault a child. Nothing. No respect.
No, I agree with you. Sadly, the joke about Bubba the Love Panda and all of those things, it's to every single person that's in there, right? When the person gets busted for stealing cars, right? Someone's going to drop the "I hope he gets raped in prison" joke. And you know what? There are people who did exactly that. Maybe that's what they got coming, right? Eye for an eye is not such a bad thing, but it is pretty messed up that we do take inmates and we make them less than human, where we can throw them out. Danny Masterson's a piece of crap. I'm not defending him.
No.
Right. But the question was, how many people in there are good, solid individuals? That's one.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking to one.
Right.
I'm pretty confident that cat, was a solid individual, but we get treated like everybody else. You got to fight literally to get out of there alive.
Yeah.
And you know what? That shouldn't necessarily have to happen. Right.
The fights, like I told you, my cellie had the keys. My cellie was a friend of my family, and my family is, who they are. But I had to prove myself too. I just didn't walk in there going, hey, just because he knew me and he knew of me on the street and all that. He knows my uncles and this and that. No. I still had to do what I had to do, but they were on the orders of him, not somebody else, not some lame. I have to deal with it, and I dealt with it. Somebody came in from the Orange County car, I dealt with it. If it was a bad jacket, I found out about it. And if I found out about it, I delegated or I took care of it. My cellie, the key holder found out about something, he'd tell me, and that was it. That was the final order, and it had to be dealt with. And he didn't tell me that because he knew I wouldn't take care of it. He knew I would. And he knew I could get away with it.
Right.
So
no, that makes perfect sense. There are a couple of here. This is Charles Manson seemed pretty normal as well. I'll be really honest with you. He did.
No.
If you could listen to Charlie have a conversation for about 45 seconds, you'd figure out real quick Charlie was not like other people. That cat was really, really different. This is something that I hear all the time. There needs to be two separate prison systems, one for violent offenders and one for non-violent offenders. I got news for you. There really is a prison system like that, right? The level 1 and 2 yards do not have a lot of very violent people on them.
No.
But you know what the sad thing is? All of the programs take place at the level 1 and 2 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are guys that got DWIs. These guys that got 3 domestic violence calls. I've never had one. I'm not justifying that. But these are not people robbing banks, right? These are not people with wild crimes. We have decided along the way that the people who commit serious crimes, we're going to do nothing to rehabilitate.
Right.
And the people who do crimes this big will blow the $30 trillion budget that we have trying to save those people. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right.
It really
doesn't. They turned they turned to ironwood. The last prison that I was in, I opened that one. I was probably the second bus there, and me and my cellie were there. We went there, and from what I understand now, ironwood is one of the worst ones you can go to because of the overcrowding and the stabbings and all the, politics that goes on. I mean, it's just crazy from what I understand. And I still have buddies doing life in Corcoran,
Yeah.
So I can get a hold of them pretty easy. I still know their families, their brothers. Pretty dangerous people.
And one of the things that's terrifying people is that you don't get a rule book when you show up. I mean, they give you one for the feds. I mean, for the prison rather, but you don't get one from the fellas. There's no rule book. So you just got to be really careful, right? In making sure that you don't break rules that you don't even know exist. But think about this for a second. I get in there, right? I just show up on the yard. And what am I in there for? Let's say I got caught with 2 ounces of meth, right? Or I got caught with 2 ounces of heroin, personal use. But they put me in there, and I'm in the cell. And the guy says, "Hey, come to the vent. Wood, come to the vent." I go down there. I get in the vent. I go, "Hey, what's going on?" "Hey, your cellmate, I'm going to send you over his paperwork. I want you to read it, and then I want you to handle it. And I'm going to shoot a line, and that piece of paper is going to come underneath the door. And you know what it's going to tell me? It's going to tell me what this dude did, what his crime was. And it's going to say something like he did something to a 7 or an 8-year-old, right? And guess what? Guess what? Right? I showed up for a lousy 2-ounce charge, but I need to hit this dude. If I don't, every single white guy in the prison is going to be going after me as soon as they open those doors.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as they open those doors. So what you do is, right, whether you're a violent person or not, whether you believe in any of this or not, guess what you do? You get busy.
Yeah.
Right. Now they know the prisons, all of them know. You'll hear them joke about it, right? You got to put work in. They know you're going to have to put work in. So they know this happens. They know that this is a thing, right? When you get there, you're going to have to hurt someone in order to stay. But they don't do anything about it.
Nope.
Nope.
It really is. I get into a fight. I go to the hole for 7 days because nobody snitches. You know what I mean? Right. I go back to the yard, and the other guy goes to a different yard. Yep. But he'll go with that jacket that he got whooped on my yard over this. So he's just going to be going through each yard until he gets to the one where they, keep him for good.
So prison actually creates murderers out of non-murderers. Yeah, it happens all the time. It happens all of the time. Sadly, it happens all of the time. You hear about this so often. I had a friend who was wildly intelligent cat that I met in prison toward the end, and he was in Lewisburg during the 1970. I don't remember whether it was 5 or 6, but they had a riot in Lewisburg, and it was a big one.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was a big one. And he's a white boy. They handed him a knife and they said, if it goes bad, you just gotta, defend any of your the people, the white guy. So he stabbed a black guy. Guy didn't die, nothing like that, but he got 30 years. 30 years for stabbing this guy. They put you into a system that is designed to make you fail. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. And I know people don't believe this. I know that people do not believe this, but I have had the crap kicked out of me by cops for laughs. It happens every single day. And you know what? What are you going to do if I complain about it? If I come out and I go, "Hey, guess what? These guys just kicked the crap out of me." They're going to go, "Hold on, let me get your file." Okay? Let me look at your file. I'm sorry, you did what? You did what to get here? The bank robber is telling me that those nice guys who served overseas for our country, they tuned you up? No, they didn't do that. Come on. They didn't do that.
The gang units used to take us in a room and they would actually hit us with phone books. Phone books.
Because they don't leave a damn mark on you.
Right.
Yeah.
We get knocked out of the chair, cuffed to the table, hit with a phone book on the side of the head.
I
Yeah.
want to tell you something. A phone book will hurt so badly you have no idea. I
Yes,
mean,
it does.
they weigh like 2.5 pounds, man, and they swing them at
Yeah.
you. It hurts in a way you can't imagine. And then
A
you
three
tell people that,
stick.
by the way, people, you will pee blood afterwards,
Oh yeah.
right? They work your kidneys 4 or 5 times. Then you got to go down to medical and say, hey, I'm urinating blood. What happened? I fell
Yeah.
off my rack. How many
Right.
times? Like the standard joke in prison. What happened? I fell
I
off
was
my
playing
rack.
basketball.
Yeah,
I got
playing
hit in the
basketball, twisted. Yeah, yeah.
eye.
Or handball, right?
Yeah.
Playing handball, I got elbowed in the eye.
Yep.
It is what it
Yeah,
is.
man. But Danny is in a concrete box, more than likely with a celly, um, with a metal shelf and nothing but state clothes, maybe a couple letters and a Bible, because that's what they
Yeah,
give you when you get there.
yeah.
So
He could probably get Dianetics. He could probably
yeah,
ask for Dianetics.
they
Yeah,
probably can,
yeah.
but I don't think he'll make it to the library.
Does the justice system know this? Okay, now it depends on what you mean by the justice system, because those people who work on up on Capitol Hill, who are writing these great programs that are going to take place in the BOP, where they're going to sit down Bloods and Crips in the same room and show them how they can get along, and everybody is the same, right? Well, that doesn't happen. I don't know where the money's going, right? But none of that stuff actually happens. But they'll believe that they're doing it. They will believe it. Yeah. I mean, they'll tell you the SMU is the greatest. You would not believe how hard well, I went through that SMU. There was no classes. I never got taken out of that cell once in 18 months. For real. I was not taken out of that cell. Well, I mean, to go to the shower, right? That was it. But no, that's a joke. It really is. It's a joke.
Yeah, I never wanted my mother to visit, plus she lived out here and I was in California. So, like I said, 10 years, I didn't get a visit. I didn't have anybody from California visit me. I didn't want to, why should it?
Right.
I'll just write you a letter and that would be it. And that's the communication that you have. That's it. You can't just get on the phone anytime. Well, you can. But,
we used to get one 15-minute phone call
yeah,
once a month, and that was in
right,
phase 4.
right.
In phase 1, you got one phone call, right?
Yeah.
Phase 1 is 120 days. You get one phone call, and it is at the
Mhm.
end of that 120 days, right?
Right.
That's it.
And it'll take 45 days for his paperwork, at least for a visiting list, to go out and be checked for
Right.
each one of those people that are going to be checked.
And they're
if
not
they
and they're
visit.
not in any hurry. And they're not in
Yeah.
any hurry.
I
So
think
in case you just got here and you don't know this story and it just seems silly. So when I got to the SMU, I was there for hitting a cop. I mean, that's what I did. That's why I ended up there. So they carried nightsticks. It's the only place in the BOP that actually has nightsticks. And this guy would whack me in the back of the knees every single day, like hit me as hard as he could. And I'm handcuffed. So I would fall down and then try to get up, handcuffed. And I would say to him, "Hey, boss, if you tell me what I did, I won't do it again." You know what I mean? Like, please just tell me what I'm doing wrong and I'll stop. Oh, you ain't doing nothing wrong. You're cool. And I would say to my cellie, "I'm not going out, dude." He'd say, "You have to go out. If you don't go out, then I got to stab you." Right. And blah, blah, blah. And eventually he stopped hitting me because he found out that the person that I had attacked was not a cop that they liked. They had actually run him off of their yard. But yeah, that was 7 days of whack on the back of the knees.
I remember the second time I had a cell extraction where they pissed me off so much, me and my cellie. The first time I learned my lesson, they just stuck that mace canister right through the slot in the door and just filled the room full of gas. Second time, I got smart. I flooded the toilet, took my shampoo bottle, poured all the shampoo all over the floor, got on the top bunk, and when they came in, I wrapped my face up. None of them were standing. I started just stomping on all of them.
Yeah.
Until that shield got me, the electric shield. That wasn't
the shock shield. Yeah, that'll take the sting right out of you.
Yeah, that wasn't too fun.
It will absolutely take the sting right out of you.
Yeah.
Some county jails are worse than prisons, to be sure. There are some county
Oh, yeah.
jails that are just unbelievably bad.
Oh yeah.
Notoriously bad. And the reason is, at least in the prisons, there are some very, very, there are controls, right? Like management can show up and just see how you're doing. Each county jail is an autonomous little thing unto its own. I went to a county jail, no joke, right? No joke, where I could order breakfast and dinner, right? From a short order cook. I mean, you have to have money to pay for it, but I had a short order cook. That restaurant, that short order cook, right, which is called Burger Barn, is owned by the sheriff's wife. And listen, if the new sheriff gets elected, then his wife takes it over. So that's like, it's just your hustle, right? It's just part of the deal, right? It's everywhere you go, man. It's crooked. It's a business, people. It's a huge business.
It is. It's nothing but money. These privatized prisons, I swear, man.
Yeah.
You eat better at private prisons, but
yeah, you do. And they usually are a lot nicer to you, at least in the beginning, right? They're usually a lot nicer to you because they haven't been getting beat on for so long, right?
Yeah, they're lower levels also. I think the private prisons are more laxed and relaxed because I think they are lower level prisons. I don't think I've heard of a high level prison. So
no, CCA is just like that's Correction Corps of America.
Oh, yeah.
They do 1 and 2, and they also do transport. They do a lot of places that are transport.
CCA is big here. It really is.
Yeah, CCA. Well, they're the biggest, right? They're the biggest nationwide. We have horrible jails and prisons in New Mexico. I have a horrible New Mexico prison story.
So do I.
One of the most violent uprisings in prison history.
Mm-hmm.
In prison history took place in New Mexico, and one of the inmates, a youngster who was in that riot, did things in that riot that got him a life sentence in the federal system. And I knew him really, really well, and he had all of his discovery, right? So those are the pictures and everything else. You would not believe how the depravity that took place when the inmates took over the prison in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely horrific.
I heard about that. They closed that prison down after that.
They closed that prison down. They were playing soccer with people's heads.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing things that were just so messed up. And the sad thing is, what do? You step back and you go, yep, boy, those guys are animals, aren't they?
Yeah.
Those inmates are animals, man. You can't trust them. Lock them up and throw away the key.
I remember one of the first stories I heard when I went in from my uncle was the one where the guy had killed his cellie. He bled him out in the toilet there. You know how the prison toilets are; they could suck down a wool blanket.
Literally.
But got him all, apart and crushed. And the only way they caught him was he cleaned it all up, and I just don't understand how. But he couldn't crush the skull. He couldn't crush the skull and get it down the toilet. He got everything else out. And I think one of the leg bones. That's how they found out. I mean, these guys are nuts.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah. And by the way, don't think for a second we love this.
No.
We don't. I mean, honestly, we don't. It's a depressing thing, and I know that there are a lot of channels that really groove to it because you know what, it gets views. If I come on here and I tell you great horror stories about the stuff that we saw in prison, you know what, people love that. You get a lot of views. It's disturbing.
It is.
I really would rather see I'd rather see people talk about reform, even for dirtbags. You know what I mean? Even for dirtbags. I'll tell you something. You take 30 years of somebody's life. That's a long time, people. That's a lot
of nightmares. There is a lot of nightmares. Don't get me wrong. There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I regret doing what I've done, but I've had to do it to be where I'm at today. If I didn't do it the way I did it, I probably wouldn't be here, or I would be on a sensitive knee jerk. But I chose to get sober, and I chose to be around people that are doing the same things, and that's what we're doing here, and that's why I'm here. So
there needs to be some changes made. They need to talk to some people that I know that a lot of people talk about abolishing prisons, and sadly, you can't. There are people that
No.
there are people that you have to protect society from, right? I've
Yep.
met them. And they are the sickest people. I'm not being. It's sometimes very difficult to look at them and even and say, do these people have souls? I mean, they take such joy in hurting people. They take
Right.
such joy in torture. I mean, those people need to be, maybe removed from society. I'm sorry, but I've kind of looked at it that way. But
Right.
when it comes up, we will always come on here, and I think that the reason that we like to is because there's going to be a lot of people going out and yelling about it and talking about just how much fun it's going to be. That hopefully he gets his backside torn up today. I'd like to see this guy get his ass kicked. He deserves it. He really does. But I am just as happy in the knowledge that he is going to go through the rest of his life terrified,
looking over his shoulder. Yep.
Yeah, I think to me that's justice. Looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, I really kind of think that that's justice. Now, I don't think anybody deserves to have sex forced on them.
No.
And you know what?
I've never,
whatever that does. Yeah,
I've never, on all the years that I've done, not in California, but I've never heard of someone being they didn't want it. Don't get me wrong. I've seen the ones at Victorville that the guys show up on the yard and they've got full breasts and they're wearing Kool-Aid makeup and all this other stuff. But I've never heard of somebody getting kicked and then dragged off to a cell and being, sodomized or whatever. I don't think the whites would let that happen unless, you did it to someone else or a child. You're on your own.
Correct.
You're on your own.
Correct. So, that's really what it comes down to. And I tried to explain this to people in the beginning. That's what MC means. You understand? Yep. That's what MC means. You got nothing coming. If something bad has happened to somebody, believe it or not, as bad as inmates are, they're not going to sit and watch that go down. They're going to go in there and they're going to stop that. I promise you.
Yeah.
There's enough people in there, unless you're on NC status. If you're somebody that did something to a woman or a kid, they're going to watch it. And they're not going to
if I saw a good kid, a first timer, a fish being jacked on by somebody who shouldn't be jacking on him, I'm gonna stop it. And if there's a problem, we'll deal with it. The kid doesn't have a bad jacket. He's only here for 16 months because he got a drug charge. No, you're not pulling him in.
Right.
You're not going to do nothing to him. Just because he's a little kid and he's 18 doesn't mean you got the right to touch him.
Yeah. So we're not gonna have you turn the kid out or turn him into
that ain't gonna happen.
Crash test dummy.
If you have your charge, you did what you did. Sorry, you got no love coming from anybody.
Yeah.
You are
I agree with
status completely.
This is actually really kind of funny. In a weird way, the prisoners have a higher sense of justice than we do out here. As bad as this is to say, there's a lot of truth to that. There really is. Because let me give you a perfect example. If I were to say right now, Russ did this, this, and this, I would have X period of time to prove that, or I'm in deep trouble, right? Physical, deep trouble. So people do not do that, right? You will never, ever accuse somebody of something inside unless you can prove it, ever, right? So that's one of 500 things that might be better on the outside if people just did that. Another one is if I say to you, hey, I'll meet you at your cell at 2:15, right? If I show up there at 2:30, there's a really good chance you're going to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes, right? If you tell somebody you're going to do something at 2:30, you damn well better do it at 2:30.
Yep.
Right? And if you owe somebody 50 cents and you tell them you're going to pay them on Friday, you better have that 50 cents on Friday. For real. They don't put much of a sense of humor. And don't do drugs with money you don't have. Don't gamble with money you don't have.
Right.
And don't mess with people who are not yours. Right? Boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. Seems pretty simple, right? But never seems to work that way.
Right. It doesn't.
It is Tampa Bay. You're right. It's guilty until proven innocent. You're absolutely right. It is guilty until proven innocent. It sure is.
Yes.
You know how I know that? I got arrested for bank robbery, right? And I went in and I said, I have been living in this city for a very long time. Fast forward to the next time, right? Now I go in front of the judge again and I said, I own a home in this town, right? Own it, own a home. I'm married to an officer of the court, right? I have been in this town for 25 years and everybody in my family lives in this town. No bail. Would not even set a bail amount to me, right?
Mhm.
Am I worse than the people that shot people? No, you know what? But if you don't have a name, if you're just a piece of crap, if you're just a convict, nah, they don't even listen. They don't have to,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They don't have to. Yeah.
Yep. I
Sad.
think, yeah, it is. And that, I think prisoners who come out or convicts who come out have a lot more respect for everybody than everybody else does, because that word there is it.
Big
And
time.
yeah, if you don't have respect for anyone else, then you belong where you belong.
They take everything from you. They take your
Yes.
clothing. They take every single thing. They take your personality. They make sure you look like the guy next to you, right?
Mhm.
In every way, they take everything. The only two things you got, right, are your
Yep.
word, and your guts,
Yeah.
right? And if your
Yeah.
word isn't any good, then your guts better become real good real quick, because
Right.
you're gonna get a chance to use them often.
If I put it on my white skin, it'll happen.
That's right. That's right.
And
Just
not
skin
my
this,
wife, not my
right?
wife's twin either.
Right. Exactly. Daniel Boone.
Yeah.
Boil skin anything. All right,
Right.
people. You know what this is? This is a cat in a basket. I actually have to go do some work so we can get
Yeah.
ready for tonight. Look at that. It's a cat in the basket.
I finally
But
got
I
mine to
definitely
sleep too.
wanted to get on here with Russ so that we could talk about this, because there's going to be a lot of people that are talking. And you know what? Russ has been to Corcoran, so I thought we would get on. Russ, man, it is always a pleasure, and
Thank you, sir.
congratulations.
You too, man. Thank you.
Congratulations. How cool is it that told you, man, right? Stick with it. Maybe if you can
I
get a
fi-
better job.
I finally won the trophy for doing something. Damn, I felt good.
No, you absolutely. This thing is never going anywhere, bro. This is
Right.
I'm wildly impressed. I really am. And you didn't, you called me when the ship hit the sand, and I knew the tone, people. And if you've never been there, then you don't know the tone. But the tone was, you know what, man? I know I can come up with a bunch of money right now, real quick, if I do X, Y, and Z.
Oh yeah, yeah. I could have made a phone call and it could have all been bad. But the one thing I wanted to tell you is, remember I told you about my Suboxone,
Yeah,
getting my script and all that.
yeah.
It turns out now I just got my new script, but here's the thing: I still have a half a bottle of my old script.
Right.
What's that tell you? I'm down to two halves a day. I'm
Huh?
supposed to be taking 3.
Huh?
Yeah.
Good stuff,
God,
isn't it?
I hate listening to you.
Right? Yeah, it's awful, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
sucks. All right, brother.
You did all that yourself, brother. I had nothing to do with that. For real. That's the
Bull.
truth.
You
Proud
guys
of
had
you,
a lot
man.
to do with it.
Proud of
Thanks.
you. And I will see
Thank
all
you.
of you tonight on the lifeboat. All right. God bless
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Yep. Da, 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 da.